Yes, hello and welcome to the Salford Community Stadium. Now, what has been an incredibly entertaining start to season 2025, a dark cloud in the form of Salford's perilous financial situation has hung over the Betfred Super League competition. And before kick-off tonight in their game against the Leeds Rhinos, Jon Wilkin and I are going to do our very best to explore this very complex issue in the company of a couple of individuals who are very, very close to the heart of it. John, pitchside here is a place we wanted to come and see an entertaining Salford side in front of a bumper crowd. We're coming here essentially to talk about a financial situation that sees Salford on the brink.
Yeah, it's been an incredibly bad look for the sport, an incredibly bad look for Salford, and I feel for the players and the staff of the club. Look, Salford have had cash flow issues for a large time. You know, this has been coming 2024, we saw January 25, they were placed under that sustainability cap. The cash flow crisis that had been going on was well before that, 23, 24, where they were living beyond the means. The club, have announced the new ownership, which was such a big thing, such a positive landmark for Salford. But from then, there's been a series of breaches of the new ownership coming up with funds. They've been placed back under sustainability measures. And that reduced salary cap and sustainability cap means that the squad is just being decimated in front of our eyes.
And a huge blow for the supporters this week, the departure of Callum Watkins.
Yeah, the captain leaving, the club's culture was built around that guy. And when you take somebody like that out of the dressing room, you forget actually he's a friend, not just a colleague. You're losing a friend and an ally. And I think that's really hurtful for the players, to just see players almost made into objects, value to sell and strip. The brutal fact of sport is that's what you are when you're a sports person. You're an asset. And the assets at Salford are being thrown out of the club right now.
OK, many have questioned the role of the RFL in all of this. Have the people that love the game, the fans of it, been kept informed throughout this whole process? Could this entire situation have been foreseen and ultimately avoided? There are a couple of questions that Jenna put earlier today here at Salford Stadium in a pre-recorded interview to the CEO of the governing body, Tony Sutton.
Now, Tony, I just want to read something out that you have previously said. You said that the RFL had scenario planned for this situation to get to the worst. Is this the worst? And do you have a plan?
Yeah, so we had looked, if we go back to November or early December, we'd probably looked round a few corners to try and see, as you say, some scenario plan, some things going forwards. And look, in terms of the financial sustainability, the future sustainability of the club for players and staff and fans and spectators and supporters, we would probably have anticipated some earlier action, shall we say. But what we're starting to see now is we're seeing some relatively high-profile player movement, which is really to some degree about cost management. We've seen some of those actions to be taken, and we're supportive of that. And as I say, in conversation regularly with people like Chris Irwin, who is working through some of the actions that we would have talked about and scenario planned going all the way back to November.
During this challenging period, the RFL have come under criticism by a number of people for the way that they've handled the situation. How do you think the governing body has dealt with this?
So you might expect me to say this. I think we've played the ball that's in front of us, to use a sporting analogy. I think we should always and are always open to look back and review what we've done, think about and assess whether or not we could or should have done different things, and we will do so. We do that with many situations and scenarios.
Do you feel, Tony, that the RFL should have been more vocal when it comes to the situation? I'm talking about for the supporters, keeping the supporters in mind.
So we could always look back and see whether or not we would have done things differently. But also I think there was a strong voice there for the club and the ownership, both at the time and now, to come forward and tell its part as well. We're very aware of our role as a governing body and what the role that clubs should and do take and who sits where in that position.
OK, so I want to go back to the new ownership group. You said that you did a fit and proper test of them. What does that involve? Previously
with owners that we might not have known before in other transactions, who may be from, say, coming in from a different league or from a different federation, we'll do a detailed amount of background due diligence, and we might use some independent firms or some independent partners to help us with that, for example. But we will do a level of due diligence. We'll look for financial information, for example. We'll also look for company information, and we will do some very relatively straightforward internet searches to see what's out there. If that brings up things, we'll move forward in certain work streams or check out certain things or not. And we go to the level that we think is required, transaction or club by club, if you like.
Do you think Salford will be in the top flight next year?
I really hope so. I really hope so. As I say, for protection and support that we've looked to provide to the club to allow them to be able to take some positive decisions, we absolutely hope so.
Well, there you go, the Chief Executive Officer of the governing body, the Rugby Football League, Tony Sutton, in conversation earlier today at the Salford Stadium with Jenna Brooks. Delighted to say John and I are joined pitchside here by the CEO of the Salford Red Devils, Chris Irwin. Thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure to speak to you. Not, of course, in these circumstances, but we do appreciate your time. We don't have you for a long time, and there is a lot of questions to answer, so I apologise in advance if they seem rapid fire. Callum Watkins has left, the club captain. Chris Atkin is rumoured to be playing tonight his last game for the club. Dion Cross is rumoured to have played his last game at the club. Is there anything you can say, Chris, to assure the Salford fans that the fire sale of players to raise much needed funds is at an end, or will it still continue?
Yeah, we're working through this at the moment. The owners have asked me to kind of keep the club on a live thread at the moment, which I'm doing. My job at the moment is to control what I can do, and that is to manage the club's budgets, bring costs down significantly, because we were operating far beyond our means, and that's what I'm doing at the moment until the significant funds arrive with us.
Okay, where has it left you with this playing group? Is there a schism between you and the management and the ownership group and your playing group?
Yeah, I've got a really strong relationship with the coaches and the playing group. They see me as an in-between of them and the owners, really, and I think for the large part they feel for me, because I'm just passing on the information from the owners. They understand I'm doing what I have to do to protect the long-term and the short-term interests of this rugby league club.
Okay, we can hear from one of your players, Ryan Briley, who of course was named in the squad, will not play tonight. He's a player no doubt you'll be determined to hold on to. Here's what he had to say, I would suggest on behalf of the playing group, about the current situation.
Ryan Briley, there's no mistaking that the past 6 months have been quite the ordeal. How are you holding up?
Yeah, it's been tough, really struggling. I think just on behalf of all the boys, we've been in a tough spot last few months. But I think seeing your friends and people you've been close to for a number of years, see them suffering is really tough. As a senior player, seeing your friends' mental health deteriorate isn't good, and hopefully there's a resolution sooner rather than later.
How do you as CEO react to that from a player of yours, an employee of yours?
It's really sad, Brian, and I'm seeing it every day with the players. They are going through the mill with it. It's an incredibly challenging time, as it is for all of the staff. And when you see a squad that was built being taken away from them and friends leaving, it's really sad. And I feel it each time I've got to move a player on. But it's a situation that we're in at the moment. It's a situation that I was brought in, and I wasn't expecting this when I came in, but it's something I have to deal with and take control to protect the interests of this club.
Yeah, what does it? You said you've got to run this on a budget, so the owners have given you a budget to work towards. How close to you are achieving that?
Well, we're right on the wire. Every month we're right on the wire.
That's in cash, in terms of cash?
In terms of cash, yeah. So they're drip feeding money into us as when we need it until the large funds arrive. Until that does, I've got to cut our cloth accordingly and do what I can do to ensure that this club keeps playing, keeps going onto the pitch, and ensuring that fixtures continue.
Chris, who owns this club? Who are the individual, or who is the individual that makes the key decisions?
So it's a consortium, and there's the two guys heading up the consortium, Asaya and Curtis.
Are they the men with the money?
Sorry?
Are they the men with the money?
No, there's investors behind them with the large chunk of funds. Listen, these people in Switzerland, in LA, they're not rugby league people. I think their interest is the stadium, the land around it, the development. They're looking to put a hotel on the grounds, 200-room hotel, an indoor sports arena. So that's what their interests are, and we're the caveat for that, Brian.
Is that not alarming that they're not rugby league people? And look, as much as I'm all for the development of this area, that's very little consolation to the Salford players and the fans right now.
Yeah, so we'll get 20% of the stadium as a club, so that gives us more security than we've ever had before. Under the previous ownership, the match day income was minimal on next to nothing. We didn't get any food and beverage. We didn't get any of the revenue that came with the catering and food and the advertising rights. So we'll get that. We'll access those funds at that point.
You wrote an open letter to the fans on the 7th of February saying we have cleared all our current debt. Is that a fact?
No, I was ill-advised at that point by the owners. That part of the agreement when they came in was to clear all debts, and the funds were due to land imminently. Unfortunately, that's not been the case, and I can only apologise for that.
You did apologise to the fans on the 5th of the 3rd, citing regulatory issues, banking issues for the drip feeding and the inability to transfer a large sum of money. Many people with extensive knowledge of international bank transfers simply do not believe that that was the case, that you could not, in the time that has been available to you, transfer a large sum of money from Australia to the UK. Has that genuinely been held up by banking regulatory issues?
That's what I've been told from the owners, Bri, and that's all I've got to go on, really.
Have you done anything to find out whether or not that's true, beyond just asking them?
Just asking the questions and seeing transactions from the owners to the banks, and chatting with Tony Sutton, who's seen the transactions themselves, and that's all I can go off, really, and take the word and the trust of the owners.
But does it sound believable to you?
I can fully appreciate why people would be sceptical.
Okay. Another point, on the 27th of the 3rd, citing the efforts of you, your playing staff and your staff here in the stadium, you said you would implore the same level of commitment from those responsible for ensuring the stability of our organisation. Did you sanction that club statement, and who was it aimed at?
I think we've all got a responsibility here. I've got a responsibility to ensure that our club continues to run and cut our cloth accordingly. We're asking investors to ensure that we do have the funds that we can do that in an effective way.
Is the money coming? Because I'm getting bored. I'm getting bored of the conversation. And I've been in this situation at Toronto, Brian, and people kept telling me as a player the money was coming and I was going to get paid, and it never came.
Well, we'll let you ask that question. We will let you answer it, but I do want to hear from some of your loyal Salford fans, because we caught up with a select few of them, and here's what they had to say about the current situation, Chris.
Heartbreaking in terms of what's happening at the moment. It feels like we're on live support and we're waiting for someone to switch the machine off. There's 150 years of history at this club, and at the moment it doesn't feel like we're going to make the next payday. So, everyone's in the dark and we don't know what's to come next.
We thought we were a poverty-stricken, overachieving club, and thought that with the money that we were promised, because we were told all debts had been paid off, we were told that we were looking at marquee players, we were told that the future was bright. And then we've gone from joy to the depths of despair.
We've got some of the most passionate, loyal and knowledgeable supporters in the rugby league, and they're being tested, really tested. It really is an awful time.
Well, you are one of them. You are a Salford supporter. What do you say to those that you're asking to come in here and pay money? What do you say to them about the future of this club? Is it in safe hands in the consortium that has expressed an interest in buying this club?
Yeah, the club is in safe hands, and I'll ensure that. Worst case scenario, if no money comes in, I'll ensure that this 152...
How can you?
By cutting the cloth accordingly, Brian, and ensuring that we run in a way that's sustainable for the future. And that's what I'm working on at the moment. I can only do what I can control. I'm fully with those fans. I'm heartbroken by the situation that I'm in. I came in to this job with the premise that these funds were going to be here and I could build this business. And we just wait.
Will you make payroll this month?
I've been assured by the owners who came in and spoke to the players on Tuesday and the staff that would be the case.
Did the owners directly fund last month's payroll?
They did, yes.
The owners did? The new owners did?
The new owners gave the money in, yes.
Okay.
Can we have a detail of the content in the players' meeting on Tuesday? The owners came in and spoke to the players about their attitude, about their commitment, about their honesty. Is that not rich? Is that not rich to come in and lecture professional sports people who've played through this situation and committed to a club, for a new ownership to come in and then ask questions about the honesty, integrity of a playing group, because some of them have decided not to play a dangerous sport out of principle. Is that not rich?
Yeah, it was a tough conversation. It wasn't easy for anyone in the room. I think what the owners were trying to state is the sacrifices that they've made.
What sacrifices have they made?
They've been in the country for 9 months to try and ensure this deal.
To get rich?
No,
they're brokering a multi-million-pound deal, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't have no sympathy for someone who travels to another country for 9 months. You know, I've got sympathy with players who are on the breadline and who aren't being paid, and dismantled friendship groups are being. I have no sympathy for people who are seeking a fortune out of a land grab, and the byproduct of that has been this man's club and this club being dismantled. Now I've got such sympathy with the job you're doing. You're the Grim Reaper right now, and that's not a difficult. That's such a difficult place.
We will have to. Unfortunately, time has beaten us. We will have to move on. I do want to leave you with the final word, because it is important. A lot of what you have said so far has not happened. Some of what you've said has not been believable. I think
it's not the words I've said, Brian. I'm reiterating words coming from our owners, and I can't speak on their behalf.
Are you happy to continue speaking on their behalf when it is not believable?
I will continue to fight for this club and the future and the safeguard of this rugby league club that is as close to my heart as to these fans here.
Chris Irwin, thank you very much for your time here. I do salute you for coming and joining us here at Pitchside. It was important that you did it, and thank you for your time.